Match 2, GLHF, Obosh, designating Obosh as our companion seems like pretty good EV, if I say so myself, so we will elect to do that. I'm trying to be funny, because obviously we put it in our deck to do that. I'm going to say this is Rakdos Prowess, and hopefully I can demonstrate why this is a good matchup. It's almost even better to be on the draw, if this is the matchup I think it is. You know, believe it or not, sometimes I've actually played 2 companions, so that's obviously why you have to designate it. I think I played Giganta and Obosh at one point. That's way too cute, but the idea being I could play, I think, 2 drops in the sideboard and not have to lose a companion, just downgrade. Yeah, just not worth it. I mean, I found out that there's way enough cards that I can use Obosh. Yeah. So, considering this is almost certainly Red-Black Prowess, I'm going to lead with Flame Slash. The reality is, Lightning Bolt is essentially the same thing in this matchup, and just Flame Slash being a sorcery just makes it so that it's less flexible. But there will be very, very few situations where the extra point of damage matters. This is not Red-Blue Prowess, so... Okay, and Lava Dart is the very easy pitch here. Yeah, this is good. I think the Kroxa versions are a bit more tricky, though, because Kroxa is, yeah, Kroxa is Kroxa. So, you know, I'm leading on Monastery Swiftspear. There could have been merit to stomping at end of turn. One of the reasons I don't like that, though, is there's no guarantee I'm going to draw a land next turn. If I did have a land, I'd probably stomp. But this way, I can, yeah, potentially bolt something at end of turn. I mean, it's unlikely they're playing like something like Burst Lightning, but they probably are playing at least some Seal of Fires. So I could save my Swiftspear from a Seal of Fire. There is upside to holding up this Lightning Bolt. So I think this incentivizes me to stomp next turn, especially since double Lightning Bolt is a clean answer to Kroxa if that ever comes out. Alright, got multiple clean answers now. Hopefully, they're not playing main deck Spell Pierce and being a 3-color Prowess deck. And I think if they want a Lava Dart flashback, yeah, I think I'd be fine. Or that would put them a million turns off of Kroxa. Yeah, between the Lightning Bolts and the Flame Slashes, I'm not actually even particularly that threatened by Kroxa. Although it will be a 3-for-1, which is never nice. You know, I actually haven't played a ton of games against Rakdos Prowess on Kroxa. I think I played a couple. I do think I was able to win, but I do have a memory of them being much tougher. However, they are way more susceptible to Blood Moon in games 2 and 3. So I'm inclined to think that it evens out overall in you know, in the full 2 or 3 games, because even if it increases their ability to steal game 1, and it looks like they will be going for Kroxa here, it also makes them yeah, more susceptible to Blood Moon, like I said, and Relic for that matter. So they might even take it out, but yeah, but then the odds of them having something good to bring back in are much less. You know, I think here I'm just going to ditch the Lightning Bolt, actually. I mean, it's very unlikely. Yeah, I mean, obviously I am going to... Now, there's literally no reason. I'm just going to drop this Flame Slash. It's very unlikely, but you just never know if for some reason I'm tempted to burn them out. 6, 8, 9. Now, I mean, obviously I'm going for Kroxa here. But, you know... Or am I, actually? Because let's see, if I burn Kroxa, then I end up dealing 3 damage to them. Maybe this is why I kept the Lightning Bolt. Because clearly I can burn them out very easily here. Well, no, I still have to go after Kroxa, because it's going to attack, and it's going to cause me to discard one of these cards. So, you know, but there was just some consideration to possibly going off to the burn strategy. Bring them down to 8. Yeah, not really much reason to put them at 6, and I really need this land. So obviously, they've grinded me much better by 3 for 1ing me with the Kroxa. So that is going to give them much better odds in game 1. I will say that. That said, I think they have to deal with my Swiftspear or they're in trouble. Okay, which card to discard? Bone Crusher Giant is obviously more grindy, but if they've got an instant, that could be a problem. But I don't think they do, because it's red, and I think if they had an instant, they would have played it by now. You know, this could be... This could expose me to big problems. You know, actually, on second thought, I am going to discard the Bone Crusher. The reason being is I might draw another 1-cost spell. You know, this could be wrong, but it is more expensive. And it is higher upside, actually, for the Lightning Bolt. Oh. So, I'm going to go for it, for the same reason I was thinking about it before. I mainly kept the Lightning Bolt, simply because I could possibly double spell. They're almost priced into blocking at this point. I mean, in theory, I could bring them on a 4. I don't think it's worth it to Lava Dart, but yeah. I like this spot. I mean, you gotta like when they feel priced into chump blocking a 2/3. I mean, hopefully we win this game, but I mean, if nothing else, hopefully this demonstrated that this ain't a bad matchup, and I definitely think we are solidly favored, even with their Crocs attack. I think we can still grind. Oh, looks like they're gonna have another Croxa though. Yeah, I spoke too soon. I still don't actually think. I still don't think actually that this is definitely not like by any means like a game. Because if I slam this Bone Crusher Giant, I think they're going to have to be on defense. Yeah, they kind of needed that fetch land, I think. They needed exactly a fetch land. Yeah, because I mean, they could, of course, attack if they have a good creature to possibly chump block, because that does put me on an insanely fast clock. But if they don't have a creature, then they will be on defensive duty. And their creature might be Lurrus. They've got another land. But they will not, they probably won't get any value off of it, though. And they will lose if I draw a burn spell. They still might have to play defense. Yeah, it was a tough call, but I think that makes sense for them to play defense. I think I'm going to play the other Bone Crusher Giant. Remember, there is value to discarding the Soul Scar to save 3 life. This is just a more efficient use of my mana. I'm not going to attack because obviously, you know, they'll just eat my Swiftspear, and I think they'd be happy to chump with the Lurrus, or not chump, just trade with the Bone Crusher. If they attack, probably I'll let it go through. There's a lot of upside to just trying to go for a lethal counter swing. Although it does kind of signal, if they do attack, it kind of signals that they have some type of defense to provide. That being said, most likely it's the type of defense that I can probably probably clear away. If they attack with Lurrus, if they attack with both, then it's a little trickier, because then they'll be up to 9. Although I still think I'd probably go for the counter swing. Kind of depends. Let's see here. Yeah, I like this attack the most. Yeah, I probably don't have another defensive creature. Because that attack signifies that they have a defender. The fact that they have to think about it makes me think they probably don't. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I mean, they could be trying to psych me out. Yeah, that's a much better attack. I still think I'm inclined, though, to let them go to 9. Um, yeah, I just, even if I can't kill them next turn, yeah, in reality, I have to draw a burn spell, I think, next turn, pretty much no matter what. So, might as well just play for higher upside. Yeah, that could happen, but I still think it was correct, because if they go up to 9, I would have had to have drawn exactly Lightning Bolt, because that would have been 2 plus 3 is 5, plus 4 is 9. Well, no, actually, I had a Lava Dart in my graveyard. In retrospect, I could have blocked the Lurrus, actually. I guess I was worried about them playing another defender. Yeah, because then I would have needed to use at least one of the burn spells on the defenders. Um, yeah, I think that was correct. Obviously we didn't take that game, but I think that was correct, because I think that the odds of them having another defender were a bit higher than the odds of them having lethal. Maybe not. I was going to go down to 4. You know what? I'm not going to think about this too much. It was pretty close. Maybe since I did end up losing, I'll just say that was a mistake. But it's important to keep in mind that just because you lose a game doesn't mean that you actually misplayed. Um, I guess I'm inclined to think probably so. Since they are on the Croxa build, I'm going to play all 4 Blood Moons, and I think I remember that's how I did it the last Croxa game I won. So, yeah, I'm going to feel, I think, pretty good about this. I think Blister Coil Weird is definitely the weakest one. Yeah, and I feel good about that. I mean, I mean, whether it was a misplay or not, I think if I would have blocked the Loris, there was a pretty good chance I would have drawn some type of burn spell in one. Of course, I don't know, they had one more card in their hand. They could have also gone after the Swift Spear, but I did have a Lava Dart waiting to save it. But, that just go to show that even when they have Kroxa and, the rest of their hand is pretty insane, we still almost won, and they're massively more vulnerable to the hate we have in games 2 and 3. There's some consideration to bringing in Lava Dart, just keeping Lava Dart in. And you know what? I think I will. No, actually, it's only good against Abbott. Yeah, so I'm gonna submit deck. Don't want to run out of time. Yeah, they could Thoughtseize this away. There's still a pretty good chance I draw another Blood Moon since I didn't bring in all 4. And you know, unless they are playing a lot of good sideboard cards, which in my experience they usually aren't, either this makes Kroxa incredibly bad, as well as the rest of their black cards. Most of their black cards. I mean, sometimes they can get a basic Swamp Out. Or they have to take out Kroxa, and then the rest of their deck is pretty diluted. But regardless, even if they take out Kroxa, this also makes it almost impossible for them to get Lurrus on the battlefield. So this is still, yeah. I mean, with them playing the Kroxa version, and I'm guessing they're playing 3 or 4 copies, because I think we saw 3 of them last game, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah, 2 in the beginning and then 1 later. Yeah. Yeah, it's going to be hard, I think, for them to take them out. So I got choices here, and I think I'm going to do the old light up the stage. I'm going to err on the side of getting a little less damage, but maximizing being able to play all the lands if I reveal 2. And I did, so I'm really glad I did. To my knowledge, they do not play mutagenic growth, so I am going to just go for Firebolt. And then I think the plan is to slam Blood Moon next turn. And I think we'll be in pretty good, a pretty good spot. They do have a basic swamp, but again, they will almost certainly not be able to cast Luris. Definitely Crocs is turned off. I mean, just shutting off Crocs alone is pretty strong. I'm going to attack because they can't really Lava Dart and Flashback. If they got Fatal Push, it doesn't make a difference anyway. I just really don't see them. Yeah, see, this isn't any type of blowout for not attacking. And with most of their threatening plays turned off, I feel pretty good about my chances here. One of the only issues in a way is that the Horizon Lands are turned off, but they're also turned off from dealing us damage. Well, they left in Croxa. I think we're in a pretty good spot. I'm almost tempted to pitch the Seasoned Pyromancer. That can't be correct. This deck really does like its land. Against all odds, I think I'm pitching the Lightning Bolt. That also feels like it can't be correct. But taking 3 damage is not insignificant. Yeah, because once I get to 5 lands, I can deal with their Luris by flashing back Firebolt. Yeah, I'm gonna ditch Lightning Bolt, believe it or not. Yeah. Well, Lightning Bolt would have enabled me to deal with both of these. But I think the logic behind ditching it made sense. Would have been able to accelerate through the deck a little bit quicker, because I could have Lightning Bolted and played Seasoned Pyromancer if we ditched the Bone Crusher. But this was about the only card that would have incentivized me to just go for a Pyromancer right there. If it was a land, that would have incentivized me to wait one more turn. Yeah, and I could have discarded the Pyromancer, but then I just would have had so much less gash. Pyromancer is one of the reasons why I think we're quite favored, because it's really a 3-for-1, maybe even a 4-for-1, because it gets value out of the graveyard. It's very, very good value. I'm not sure if they play 2 basic swamps, but I think even... okay, this is the easiest pitch ever. But even if they do, I highly doubt that they randomly happen to have it in their hand without having to fetch for it. And their Horizon Lands are turned off too. Okay, this is easy. Alright, well hopefully they don't have Kolaghan's Command. But it's either Kolaghan's Command or exposing myself to Thoughtseize. Plus, we get to work on the graveyard a bit for that off chance that they do happen to draw their possibly one other basic swamp. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then if they do draw that other basic swamp, they can't escape Croxa. That was actually a pretty good draw for that reason. They probably have it may have a land into Kolaghan's Command. That would be the best. Otherwise, I think we're firmly, as they say, in the driver's seat. Them having seen 2 Blood Moons this game makes me wonder if maybe we should only side in 2 next game. That's how many I usually side in back when they weren't playing Croxa. I wonder if they're playing Cling to Dust still, because I think it's kind of hard to support both Cling to Dust and Croxa. But they could always just selectively escape whichever ones are better in the matchup. Um, yeah, it's not that threatening. I don't think there's much reason to block. I mean, I could double block with mostly impunity, but what does that really get me? I mean, they can't kill both. They're definitely going to kill the Soul Scar if I do. Yeah, Soul Scar's good enough that I think it makes sense not to block. Although, on the other hand, one of the only ways we lose, I think, is by actually taking damage at this point. I think I'm actually going to double block. They can't kill both. And, like I said, I think one of the only ways we actually lose at this point is random beats. I highly doubt they're going to outgrind us at this point. Okay, so there's two different lines I can take. One is Flashback, Firebolt. Yeah, and the other is play Bone Crusher Giant and put Obosh in hand, and I think that makes a lot more sense. Yeah, once I get Obosh down, I think that's it. And that's one of the reasons why I think it made sense to block there. Because the late game is just looking impossible for them to win in this state. You know, I think I said in a comment to one of Nikachu's videos, I think one of his video about this deck, that this Obosh deck grinds better. That may not actually be true now that I think about it in the Croxa versions. I haven't had a lot of experience, at least in Game 1. I think in Games 2, it's definitely looking like this deck grinds better, as we can see. So if I play Obosh, that sets me up the best next turn, but I think Firebolt Flashback, considering we know they've got their last card is Luris, which they can't really even play. We know it's not a way to save their creatures. I think we just double Firebolt here. Firebolt and Flashback, as they say. And I think leaving back Seasoned Pyromancer makes a lot of sense. And we still got Obosh we can drop next turn, or just play Firebolt. I think I want to keep at least one Firebolt, just on the off chance they do draw that last basic swamp, and we need to kill Luris. So probably just dropping Obosh next turn makes sense. But I did like getting both of those creatures off the battlefield. Probably Bone Crusher Giant is going away. They could go after Seasoned Pyromancer, but that just seems bad, because I get tokens out of it. And this Bone Crusher is dealing 4 damage every turn. Sure, it lets them get in for 3, though. I think I would go after Bone Crusher if I were them, but there is consideration to going after Seasoned Pyromancer. Yeah. Because I think they're still planning for drawing that second swamp. And I think, oh my goodness. Well, I think we go, considering we know again they've got Luris in their hand, I think we are doing the classic Firebolt and Flashback. And this has generally been my experience in outgrinding this deck. Not the Blood Moon, but just the like the Firebolt Flashback. You know. Let me turn off my alarms here. Alright, they got their Seal of Fire, but I've got my Obosh. There's definitely consideration for them just scooping. They are behind on the clock. This is, as they say, good. And I've even got the Relic up. Yeah, you know what? I think I'm going to crack the Relic in response to this, and the reason being, that I think, well, even if they do draw the swamp, I can just Lightning Bolt. Yeah, you know, because of that, I'm actually, yeah, I was thinking to crack the Relic just on the off chance that, like, you know, they could come back, theoretically, if they draw one more basic swamp. But considering that Obosh will double my damage, I could just Lightning Bolt the Kroxa in response to its trigger, even if it does come into play, and then I can just crack the Relic on my next turn. So it's really not necessary. The opponent might think this is a misplay, but, you know, that's neither here nor there. Yeah, I think that could have been some consideration to holding that in my hand. But I think, I mean, realistically, yeah, realistically, if they take, I think that's just GG. So it doesn't really matter. I'm going to go for the Firebolt. If they do happen to play Clink to Dust, I can just Lightning Bolt in response. Alrighty, nice. Yeah, I think I'm going to keep the Blood Moons. Yeah, let's see. Actually, if they're still sideboarding, I think they're taking out the Kroxas. See, I clicked Submit, and if they... Yeah. So now I gotta consider, maybe I should take out a few Blood Moons. I think I will. You know what, I'm still gonna leave them in. I mean, they're probably taking out their Kroxas, but at the same time, you know, I can pitch these to Seasoned Pyromancer, and I just, I have to imagine that seeing this early is more EV than Lava Dart on average. But maybe not Kozilek's Return, though. Yeah, you know what, I'm gonna... Oh, I think, yeah. In retrospect, I was thinking maybe to bring in 2 Kozilek's Return, 2 Blood Moon, but it looks like they submitted. Okay, they didn't. Yeah, I'm gonna do it this way. This could be my downfall. Maybe they're psyching me out by taking a long time sideboarding and leaving the Kroxas in. Even so, if I draw one of my 2 Blood Moons, that's still awful. I do also have Relic, though, to keep Kroxa under control. I have to imagine, though, that they're spending a long time sideboarding, bringing out Kroxa. I think in general this is correct, actually. In, you know, game 1, if they're on Kroxa, probably all 4 Blood Moons. Game 2, take out 2. You know, bring in the Kozilek's Return. The Kozilek's Return is just marginally better than Lava Dart, because you can randomly kill their creatures. You can also potentially get a 2-for-1. Mainly because if you don't have Blood Moon, they can play Lurrus, and then usually they bring back a Prowess creature of some type. So yeah, Kozilek's Return really cleans up there, and I am going to keep. I mean, this has got both my hate pieces, and as we saw, even though this is not like Dredge or anything, these cards are still quite powerful in this matchup. And again, they don't really have Mutagenic Growth. I think I'd still have to go for it anyway, even if they did. Hope they didn't have it, because there's like no real play to play around it. You know, if I had Soulscar Mage, I could play that next turn with Firebolt, so that the -1/-1 counters would prevent value. Well, Kroxa is still in. I don't know what to say. I think I'm going to go after Fiery Islet. I mean, I'm going to discard Fiery Islet because most of my lands are probably going to turn into mountains anyway. Why have to take extra damage while I'm building up to Blood Moon? I'm very surprised. I don't know what they were doing, taking so long sideboarding if they're still leaving Kroxa in. Maybe they took out two. Maybe they took out all but one because they couldn't bring in the last copy out. I don't know. But I've got Kroxa covered so many ways. Having only 2 is better here if they can't force me to discard it. Having only 2 Blood Moons, I mean, because they literally have no way to remove it, and this means that I'm very unlikely to get flooded on these later. Yeah, I like the idea of just slamming Blood Moon, as they say. Yeah, one of the things about using Relic's ability there is that kind of incentivizes them to fetch first, but realistically they can't fetch a basic swamp anyway, so doesn't kind of matter. They might as well not fetch, yeah, just save themselves 1 life. And I think there's a very good chance that this is the only Blood Moon I see this game, because I only brought in 2. The other one is somewhere in these 50 cards, and this is pretty good. I'm very unlikely to see another one, and as long as I only have 1 here, I mean, even if this was the only other Kroxa in their deck, this is probably going to do a lot of work. If for no other reason than it just keeps them off of Lurrus. Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing they play Manamorphose and/or a second basic swamp. Otherwise, there's literally no reason for them to do that. Well, no, that's not entirely true. I could be playing discard. Well, I'm mono red, so um, when I think about it, probably not. Yeah, so that means they have a basic swamp or a Manamorphose. I think I'm just gonna go for the Seasoned Pyromancer here, even though it means I ditch the Swift Spear. Reason why is it's just so bad for me if they cause me to discard it. You know, I mean, sure, it's only like a 2-for-1 here instead of a 3-for-1, but you know, I mean, any card advantage I can get is pretty good. Plus, I mean, I do get a token out of this. Yeah, and actually, I would have drawn this Kozilek's Return. So that would have probably rotted in my hand for a while. So it was good that I just played out the Pyromancer there. I would have either had to have discarded the return, or it would have rotted in my hand because it would have been hard to find a target before playing Pyromancer. Okay. So we got 2 ways we can deal with the Lurrus that they're going to play. One is Flashback Firebolt, the other is Kozilek's Return. Probably Firebolt is what it's going to be, considering that I think their play is Lurrus into rebuying Seal of Fire. Does open me up a little bit more to discard, but it's more efficient use of mana. Actually, what am I saying? Oh yeah, just for sure, Kozilek's Return. Yeah, I was gonna say, you know, of course it would have been Firebolt because I would have wiped my own board. Now, however, I think the change of plans. It's kind of almost the same thing at this point, actually, though, now, because I think I'm incentivized to double block. Oh yeah, I'm going to double block. They are going to probably sacrifice Seal of Fire on my Pyromancer, and then I can clean up next turn with Kozilek's Return. Very, very glad I brought this in. I think they got to go for the Seal of Fire. They got to play to their recurring strategy. Little do they know that I have Kozilek's Return, which is pretty good, if I say so myself. And of course I want to play it now before they can save their creature somehow. I'm going to do it like this just in case they somehow play, I don't know, 2 random green cards and Force of Vigor. I don't think they can actually deal with enchantments. And, you know, keeping the Sunbaked Canyon up just in case somehow they can actually deal with the Blood Moon. Oh yeah, actually, no, well, I don't think they set release, but now actually black can deal with enchantments. I find that fascinating with the new set. Well, 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 well. Young Pyromancer. That was unexpected. Why not just play Seasoned Pyromancer? Oh, I guess that conflicts with Lurrus. I think Seasoned Pyromancer is just better in these type of Prowess decks, though. Immediate value, immediate tokens, oftentimes, rather than having to, you know, rely on other instants and sorceries. But it's not necessarily bad, actually. Hopefully they go for like a Thoughtseize. I could have cracked Relic, but I think it's better to just use the Firebolt. I'm fascinated that they didn't play the Seal of Fire. Probably they've got an instant. Well, you know, not gonna lie, this is pretty lucky. This is the type of... if I was on their side, this would feel really shitty. Excuse the French. You know, Sorry, opponent. This was a pretty big luck sack draw here. I'm gonna wait till they're upkeep because you know, yeah, because like if they would have, I would want to respond. They don't play prowess creatures. Just gonna, you know, and even if they did respond, you know, it would have swept the token. No, my Obosh. I still think we're incredibly favored. That was insane. If opponent is not incredibly tilted, they have better anti-tilt senses than I do. That would be incredibly tilting. I mean, I only have 2 of those. That was pretty lucky. I still think we would have been favored, but man, oh man, that would have been. This definitely was looking to be a much closer game before that. I'm tempted to just, you know, bring this out. Just, I mean, they do have Kolaghan's Command. Yeah, I don't need to play it. Yeah, I will. They could have another Kroxa, which it looks like they brought all their copies in. I mean, they kept all their copies in. Another nice thing about Blood Moon, a little bit of an understated kind of nice thing, is that, believe it or not, actually from dabbling with playing fetch land versions of Prowess, and believe it or not, I was dabbling around with fetch lands in a mono red build similar to this one. One of the things I was actually testing out for a while was Dwarven Mine. Dwarven Mine and Castle Embereth seemed like possibly some, you know, minor combination worth consideration. That's fine. And one of the things I was actually noticing was that if the game goes very, very long and you draw enough cards, the fetch land thinning does actually make a difference. Although I remember sometimes my deck got so thinned, I was actually in danger of decking, believe it or not, when the games got that long. So I almost kind of wondered if it balanced out in that I drew more gas, but at the same time I had less cards as a buffer to preventing myself from decking. And I'm not like exaggerating. Some games that got incredibly grindy, I did actually, I think I did win at least one game because my opponent decked first. So anyway, what I'm trying to bring up with the fetch lands is that I do think one of the components. Let's think here. Yeah, I think there's no play to be had here. I just flashback Firebolt next turn. Yeah, there's nothing to do in response to that. Definitely not cracking Relic. I want to use that Firebolt before I do. But yeah, anyway, just the fetch lands actually do kind of play into their card advantage sort of engine, in the sense that when they're hoping for the game to go long, yeah, you know, the more fat fetch lands they crack, the less lands there are in their deck. Which again, you know, deck thinning normally doesn't really make a difference, but when the game goes very long and you draw a lot of cards, and you're down to like the top 20 cards in the game, you do start to see that the person who's fetched more lands out of their deck definitely does draw more gas. I have seen it. I'm not saying that's a reason to play fetch lands, because also remember, losing life also adds up later in the game. The longer the game goes, you end up taking a lot of residual damage here and there. It's just to say that cutting off the fetch lands also has a little bit of residual value here, in that they are a little bit more likely to flood. It's almost not even really worth bringing up in a way, because it's not that much extra value. But considering that these matches don't usually come down to who, I mean, we're both at 13 life, so both of our life totals are pretty healthy. these kind of games usually come down more to like who draws more gas. It's not necessarily insignificant that it's cutting off the Scalding Tarn, but obviously the bigger deal is it's cutting off the Fire Islet. Of course, it's cutting off my Sunbaked Canyon. You know, I think I'm going to crack the Relic here, because, let's see here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, this both prevents them from being able to escape Kroxa and Cling to Dust, and they don't have any black mana right now. I mean, I am. Like, I really don't know. Yeah, well, I don't see how I can really get punished for that. I think that was the perfect time to play Relic if I've ever seen one. I mean, to crack it. Okay, I think it just makes sense to get the Prowess triggers up front here. Yeah, might as well just play the Blood Moon just for the Prowess triggers now. I actually think just playing out the mountain makes more sense here, believe it or not, because just shields it in case they've got like a Kroxa or something. This is also an interesting thing. Even when I draw my other Blood Moon, it gives me value in the form of Prowess triggers. You know, just a little something. I think I'm about due for another Seasoned Pyromancer, but let's see. Okay, I will take that for sure. And, you know, I think it makes sense to just attack and, yeah, see what they do. Because they have to have a burn spell here, and, you know, if I stomp, that gives them more outs. I mean, realistically, I probably won this anyway, but I'm just going to let the damage go through and try to finish them off. Yeah, because, you know, that way they can't respond with killing one of my creatures. Alrighty. Can't play GG's. They can't play Cling to Dust because there's no creature. I mean, they can't, like, gain life. Well, alright, see, I do think we're solidly favored against the Rakdos Prowess matchup. That's something to consider. Rakdos Prowess, I think, is favored against, I mean, it has a much better matchup, most likely, against Ad Nauseam, Neobrand, probably Boggles, too, if they don't have main deck Leyline of Sanctity and they don't draw it, or they, yeah, exactly. If there's a better matchup, if they don't have it or they don't draw it, you know, the Thoughtseize as they typically play give them more interaction against those decks. The trade-off, though, as you see here, is I do think if you play correctly, I think that this mono-red Obosh deck is heavily favored in games, at least certainly in games 2 and 3. But definitely game 1 is quite winnable. They might be slightly favored. Kroxa is actually very, very strong in game 1 when we don't have a ton of answers for it. But I think overall, you know, definitely my record reflects against this deck specifically that we're quite favored. So, you know, that's something to consider. I think Rakdos Prowess is way more prevalent than, you know, Ad Nauseam, Neobrand, Boggles. There might be another deck I'm not thinking of. Probably Rakdos Prowess is slightly better positioned against Eldrazi Tron 2. I haven't seen Eldrazi Tron in ages, though, for whatever reason. But we are favored against Rakdos Prowess, so there is that. Yep, well, next game.